Alito, y'all, Chimachukma. This is Chief Steve coming at y'all with another episode of True Story. Today, we're coming out of the same book that we've come through. You can actually call this a third part or third installation of this book. This is Houses and House Life of the American Aborigines. Once again, this is by Lewis Henry Morgan, born 1818 through 1881, publication date 1881. And this speaks on the Indians of North America, social life and customs, and their dwellings. And in this particular presentation, we're going to be getting into a topic or issue which is still very much a prominent issue today, and that's about land ownership. And when we're speaking on this, in this passage, we're particularly coming from the perspective of an outsider looking in when it comes to the dealings of the land. So some of the language, I'm just going to let y'all know right now, some of the language in this presentation is going to be a little, sensitive. Some people are going to find it, a little offensive as far as how they're talking about us as American Aborigines and how they conceived our thought process. But you have to understand that when they came through and were starting to deal with us and wanting to take our lands, because there was a whole agenda behind their kindness and their generosity, as far as those who wanted to establish a government, establish colonies. The main thing was taking the land, because they understood that whoever owned the land or had possession of the land possessed the power of the overall landmass area. So with that being known, there were some individuals who had put some things into place that allowed for these lands to openly be taken from our people. And that's some of the things that we're going to get in today. But before we get into that, I just wanted to give a major shout out to all of my subscribers. Man, Yakoki. Thank you all who have subscribed to True Story, that are rocking with your man, Chief Steve. I really appreciate y'all from the bottom of my heart. Tata Kista, I cherish y'all. We are now 100 strong in the community, and that's amazing, man. For me to start out 3 months ago, I really didn't have a set goal or any kind of, milestone or anything that I wanted to reach. Like I said, as far as me giving this information, the only promise that I made to myself, to my wife and my kids, is that I would provide nothing but the truth, the valid truth, so that they can see this, they can understand this, and have these historical documents, recorded for themselves. And I just wanted to connect with more like-minded Nijis that were down with, getting to go on this journey of rediscovery. And so, since we're all here together, 100 strong, that's more than I could ask for. And the thing is, we're just getting started. This ain't the end. This isn't, this isn't a wrap up or anything like that. This is literally just the beginning. We have information on top of information, transcripts on top of transcripts, antiquity books on top of antiquity books, different documentations and, films, all kinds of stuff that we're going to go over on this channel. And I'm literally just funneling the information piece by piece. I don't want to put out too much too soon. And that's why I usually upload once a week. I might take that up. I'm not sure. I'm not going to make any promises, but for you guys that have just newly subscribed, I appreciate you guys. And for those who are following me on Twitter that found me here, hello, welcome aboard. Those who have followed me on TikTok, found your way here to the channel, I appreciate you guys doing your due diligence, moving forward, and, taking those next steps. And when I say, watch the full video here on YouTube, I hope you see the consistency in the information and the truth that I'm presenting to you guys. And like I said to all y'all, I just appreciate y'all. Once again, this is just the beginning, y'all. What else can I say? I mean, we just getting started. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this passage. Like I said, it is pretty touchy, but bear with me, bear with the writer. They were just doing all this to the best of their ability. And let's just appreciate the information for what it is. All right? So let's get into it. So here, we're going to be starting at chapter 4, usages and customs with respect to lands and to food, the ownership of lands in common. It says, among the Iroquois, the tribal domain was held and owned by the tribe in common. Individual ownership, with the right to sell and convey in fee simple to any other person, was entirely unknown among them. So it's basically saying that we did not sell, just sell land, own land, and sell land. That wasn't something that us as American Aborigines did. And they're particularly looking at the Iroquois tribe when they're given this example. They're going to be going into more tribes as well as we go further. But just giving you a set picture, speaking in general, our American Aborigines never said that they owned the land. Ownership, the whole concept of ownership did not even come into existence until we had foreigners starting to invade the land. Then they wanted to play the ownership game. But we knew the land for what it was, which was basically our mother. We didn't own the land. The land was the one that kept us sustained, and it was our job as stewards, as cultivators, as those who took care of the land. Just like how we take care of our loved ones, for a lack of a better term, we take care of our relatives. We don't own them. This is something that, just like your mother, you don't own your mother, you don't own your parents. But when you decide to step into that role and take care of your parents, and do for them, do for the ones that provide for you, do for the ones that have sustained you all your life, and keep them sustained in return. It's a balance there. We worked in harmony with the land and its inhabitants, i.e. the animals, the herbs, the vegetation. There was a balance to everything. We did not say that we owned land. It wasn't something that it was a foreign concept. And you're about to understand this now. It says right here, it required the experience and development of the two succeeding ethnical periods to bring mankind to such a knowledge of property in land as its individual ownership with the power of alienation and fee simple implies. No person in Indian life could obtain the absolute title to land, since it was vested by custom in the tribe as one body. Okay? So no individual person owned land. We as a tribe, that was our territory. That was our right. Okay? And they had no conception of what is implied by a legal title in severalty with power to sell and convey the fee. which makes sense because if, we didn't know the conception of owning the land, then why would we put a price on it? And it says, but he could reduce unoccupied land to possession by cultivation. So that's how we occupied land. And we possessed the land through cultivation. If you took care of that land was yours, unannounced. Like that was just your stuff, That was your area. If we want to go into ownership, they looked at ownership by possession as possession by cultivation. We were cultivators, okay? And so long as he thus used it, he had a possessory right to its enjoyment, which would be recognized and respected by his tribe. You see? Gardens, planting lots, apartments in a longhouse, and at a latter day, orchards of fruit were thus held by persons and by families. All right? If you set up shop, you made that your area, your family knew that the tribe recognized that and respected that amongst our individual tribesmen and our individual families, clans. Such possessory right was all that was needed for their full enjoyment and for the protection of their interest in them. A person might transfer or donate his rights to other persons of the same tribe, and they also passed by inheritance under established customs to his Gentile kin. And if you want to know the definition of Gentile, you can go again to the prior installments that I have, my prior videos. I give a full definition breakdown of what Gentile is. It's not a religious definition. All that Gentile is saying that these folks, these generational people, these related people, okay? This was substantially the Indian system in respect to the ownership of lands and apartments and houses among the Indian tribes within the areas of the United States and British America in the lower status of barbarism. So when they talk about barbarism or the status of barbarism, the time of barbarism, they're just talking about the time when we ran things. That's, like I said, the language is touchy, but that's what they considered that at that time. In latter times, when the state or national government acquired lands, Indian lands, and made compensation therefore, payment for the lands went to the tribe, and for improvements to the individual who had the possessory rights. So once the government started getting involved, then they want to start giving titles and stuff and say, okay, well, if nobody owns a deed or a contract or something like that, then we're just going to deal with the tribe as a whole, mainly with the chiefs and, the payment and everything like that. When they started introducing the conception of trading land, buying and selling land, that's when they started just dealing with the tribe. And then, the individuals will get the benefits of that particular parcel or whatever's going on with that. So just giving y'all a broader picture as I'm reading here. It says, at the Tonawanda Reservation of the Seneca Iroquois, a portion of the lands are divided into separate farms, which are fenced and occupied in severalty, while the remainder are owned by the tribe in common. When a young man marries and has no land on which to subsist, the chiefs may allot him a portion of these reserved lands. So when you're a young man and you're getting married, you're starting off for the first time, we didn't have those problems like we do today, where it's like, oh, well, before I get married, I got to get a house, I got to get this, I got to get a car. Or, we had everything. Our tribes took care of each other. The chief himself would allot you your land and say, here, this is a place where you and your woman can settle and start a family, and continue our numbers. Y'all got this part, And the man becomes, I guess, the possessor of that of that land. So going on, it says the title to all these lands, occupied and unoccupied, remains in the tribe in common. Okay, so it was still the tribe's land, it's still tribal land. It didn't belong to the individuals. And it says, going further, individuals may sell or rent their possessory right to each other, or rent them to a white man. So now the white man's involved, so-called white man, the foreigner. It says you can rent that to the white man. But it says right here, no white man can now acquire a title from an Indian to Indian lands in any part of the United States. So we can rent to them. They can have a little piece of land or whatever, have they little possession, but they cannot own it. They cannot hand them over the right. It was not the right of the individual Indian to give that land to the so-called white man. Okay? It says a person could transfer his possessions to another, but apartments in a house must remain to his Gentile kindred. So the white man did not take the house or the apartments that his kin was in, that his family was in, but he did have the right to rent land from an individual via, paying the tribe, I guess, and starting his own house on that parcel of land that is allotted to him. So you see how they're starting to slowly creep their way in? And keep on following me. In the time of James II, the right to acquire lands was vested in the crown exclusively as a royal prerogative, to which prerogative our state and national governments succeeded. Okay, so first it started with the crown. All right. And then after the crown, as time went on, gained their so-called independence, then the state and the national government succeeded that. You hear me? So first it went from individuals and went to the crown. And now the state and the national government is getting involved. It's literally snowballing. Do you see the snowball effect? Let's go further. The same usages prevail on the Tuscarora Reservation near the Niagara River, where this Iroquois tribe owns in common about 8,000 acres of fine agricultural land in one body. Okay? 8,000 acres of land, all to one tribe. A part of this reservation has long been parceled out to individuals in small farms, fenced and cultivated by the possessors. Okay? So even though none of these individuals particularly owned land or said that this is mine to buy and sell, because there was no conception of that within the tribe still allotted for our people to have individual parcels. We still divided up the land and said this belongs to this clan, this belongs to that clan, this belongs to this clan, and they were cultivating. It wasn't considered farming at that point. We're going to get further and show you the definition, the difference between cultivating and the difference between farming. When you cultivated, they were literally stewards of the land. They took care of that piece of land. It was their responsibility to uphold that piece of land. All right. It says the remainder is unparceled and under the control of the chiefs. Okay. So still within the tribe. The people are allowed to remove from the woodland of the reserve the dead wood and litter, but are not permitted to touch the standing timber. So that's what we mean by cultivation. You're there to take care of the land, but not take from the land. It's a living resource, but we were able to take care of it. Okay? It says when a young man marries, if he has no land, the chiefs allot him 40 acres to cultivate for his subsistence. And I believe that's where they got the whole 40 acres and a mule theory from, the whole 40 acres and a mule agenda. They knew to use those terms and to use that kind of rhetoric with us to get us to do what they wanted us to do. You see, but at the same time, we all know by now that that particular agreement was not held to. But this is, I can safely say, this is where they get it from. Now I'll read it again. When a young man marries, if he has no land, the chiefs allot him 40 acres to cultivate for his subsistence. Our chiefs took care of us. This is back when our chiefs used to take care of us, back when our tribes took care of each other. But before giving him possession, the lot is first open to all the tribe to cut off the timber for firewood. Okay, so before they gave them that land, they gave the rest of the tribes, they gave the rest, not the rest of the tribes, they gave the rest of the individuals within the tribe, our tribal members, right to go and clear out that land before that particular man and his family settled down onto it. Okay? Says, thus, the double object is gained of supplying the people with firewood and of clearing the land for cultivation for the new family. So when you started your family and you got possession of land, you're literally starting from ground zero and you're building that land up to where you deem fit. Okay? And it was killing two birds with one stone, for lack of a better term, because you supplied when somebody got their possession of land. That's why it was respected by the tribe, because that part that was unoccupied at one point, we weren't able to take from that part. We weren't able. That part was unoccupied, which means we left that to nature. We didn't mess with that. But when one man marries, it was a beautiful thing. It was a celebration because now that land has to be cleared. So all those resources and things, the tribe gets to go ahead and get those resources, take those things and provide for their individual households, for their individual clans. And then at the same time, it's leaving that room open. It's kind of like when you actually buy land today and then you have to pay for them to clear out that land. You have to pay for it to be surveyed. You got to pay for, all this stuff to get down and cut down and basically clear it out. But not back then. It was a family affair. It was a tribal affair. Everybody and their mama went out there, helped clear out that land, helped, basically clear it out and make it available for cultivation for that new family. And at the same time, those families received the resources out of that. So it was literally a blessing, in lack of a better terms, to see our fellow tribal members get married and start their own families, because everybody was involved in the resources, receiving the resources, the bounty of the land, and helping that new family get started by cultivating. All right? So, these possessory rights passed by inheritance to the recognized heirs. These possessory rights passed by inheritance to the recognized heirs. Okay? A person may transfer or rent his possession to another person. He may rent to a white man, but it says again, in no case can he sell to a white man. All right? And this has been the tribal law for a long time. This has just been the ground rules. But these are when things get murky. Listen. And here, this is the writer. This is Henry Louis Morgan talking. Says, and here I may be allowed a brief digression to notice a recent opinion of the late Secretary of the Interior, Honorable Carl Swords. Let's see how honorable he is right now, saying, or what he's about to say, or the concept that he's about to introduce. It says, Honorable Carl Schwartz shared into some extent by the national government in relation to the division of our Indian reservations into lots or tracts, and their conveyance and severalty to the Indians themselves, with power of alienation to white men after a short period, say 25 years. Watch this. It is to be hoped that this policy will never be adopted by any national administration, as it is fraught with nothing but mischief to the Indian tribes. So he's hoping that this doesn't go into effect. But you see the plan being put in motion as we go on. It says the Indian is still, and this is the writer speaking and giving his opinion on the situation. It's where the language gets a little, it says the Indian is still, as he always has been and will remain for many years to come, entirely incapable of meeting the white man with safety to himself in the field of trade and of resisting the arts and inducements which would be brought to bear upon him. So basically he's saying that we were incapable of dealing with the so-called white man. We're dealing with these foreigners when it came to trade and stuff, because they had a certain way of trading and doing things, and we were basically getting screwed out of it. It says he is incapable of steadily attaching that value to the ownership of land which its importance deserves, or of knowing how far the best interests of himself and family are involved in its continued possession. And like I said, it wasn't even the lack or the incapability. It was the fact that we did not look at the land as something that could be owned or something that can be, sold. That was just a foreign concept. And it was hard for us to grasp that concept at that time, is basically what he's saying. And I know it may seem like he's calling us dumb or stupid, but when you think about it, not giving validity to that statement, but you see the different things that happened to us as far as how our people was tricked out of their land, how they were bamboozled out of land possession, and how they took advantage of some of us not knowing what we were signing, what we were getting into, and just overall not holding up to their ends of the bargain. We can see how the trickery crept in and how we were taken off our land. So let's keep going. I'm gonna just keep reading. This is a little touchy, but I'm gonna just keep on going. He is incapable of steadily attaching that value to the ownership. Sorry, y'all, I got a train coming. Told you I live on the other side of the tracks. I'm in the hood, so you're gonna hear a train. He is incapable of steadily attaching that value to the ownership of land which its importance deserves, or of knowing how far the best interests of him and family are involved in its continued possession. The result of individual Indian ownership with power to sell would unquestionably be that in a very short time he would divest himself of every foot of land and fall into poverty. And that's hard to hear, right? But we see it today. We see the effects of that today, and we as American Aborigines are just now starting to come back up, starting to get wise again to land ownership and starting to truly see the value in that. And our people are making strides. You look at folks like a Tyler Perry, you look at folks like, a 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, buying these acres of land and stuff. They got their own agendas within they different things, studios and everything of that nature, whatever they trying to do. But even there, you can see the individuals that are not publicized our different Nijis and stuff are starting to come to a realization that the ownership of land is important. And if you don't understand that, now you need to know, if you don't know by now, you need to know that ownership of land is very important. We do not own these apartments. We do not own these houses. You pay a mortgage. You don't own that house. You don't own that parcel. You own that box. You know what I mean? And you pay taxes on that land, but you do not own that land. If you have a house within the suburbs, or a house within, a city, different things like that, a community, unless you own the land, unless you have land rights, you do not own that land. You're only paying a mortgage for a box. You're only paying a mortgage for a house. But that land is not yours. And we need to understand that land ownership, that is the key to freeing our people. Okay? That's the key to freedom. And you got different folks on this, on this algorithm, different folks from these different channels that can tell you about how important land ownership is. It should go without saying. But at the same time, it needs to be put out there yet again. If you haven't heard it from anywhere else, you've heard it from Chief Steve. You heard it from me, right here on True Story. Land ownership is a must. Land ownership is the key to freedom. All right? So let's just keep on going. The case of the Shawnee tribe of Kansas affords a perfect illustration of this pernicious policy. The Shawnees were removed to Kansas under the Jackson policy. If y'all don't know what that policy is about, look it up. Do your due diligence. So-called Jackson policy. And occupied a splendid reservation on the Kansas River, where they were told they were to make their home forever. So they removed them from their original land, moved them to this piece of land in Kansas, and told them that's where you're going to make your home forever, right? But that wasn't enough. Listen. But after a few years of undisturbed possession, our people and the natural flow of population reached Kansas. When he says our people, he's talking about that's Henry Lewis, or Lewis Henry. That's the writer, Mr. Morgan. He's talking about his people. Our people and the natural flow of population reached Kansas, where they found the Shawnees in possession of the best part of what has since been the state of Kansas. So it wasn't bad enough that they got removed from their land and put on that strip of land. Now they saying, oh, now they got the best piece of this. We need that too. Listen, our people at once wanted these Indian lands, and they determined to root out the Shawnees in the interests of civilization and progress. So when they was taking our shit, they were saying, we doing this all in the name of civilization and progress, as if we weren't civilized, or if we didn't know the value of sustainability. We couldn't sustain for ourselves, or, our culture is so primitive. But when y'all first came out here, though, and talking about the foreigners, when the foreigners first came out here, they saw how advanced we were. Okay? It's different. Now they want to think different. They want to act different because they see what we have, and now they want it for themselves. You hear me? But let me not get too passionate. Let's keep going. They accomplished this result in the most speedy and scientific manner, using as their proposed lever this identical plan since adopted by Mr. Shores. Okay, so this is what Mr. Shores believes, and this is what the government did. Here we go. First, the government was induced to repurchase a part of the reservation on the ground that they had more land than they needed for cultivation. So, now all of a sudden, after we removed you and put you on the strip, this is too much for you. So let's buy some of this back. Let's make a deal. Huh? Let's make a deal. And secondly, the government induced the Indians to have the remainder divided up into farms and conveyed to heads of families in severalty with power of alienation. Okay? Let me read that to you again. Secondly, the government induced the Indians to have the remainder divided up into farms and conveyed to heads of families in severalty with power of alienation. Okay? Now they want them not only is this too much land, now you need to divide this land and give it to those possessors and name them the heads of their families. So now they're causing division in amongst our tribes. You hear me? This sounds way worse than what is actually saying on paper. You got to take a big picture, a look at the big picture. They are causing division within our tribes at this point. Oh, he's a head. He's a head of the family. He's a head of the family. So you're taking the whole matriarchal process out, and then you're putting these different possessors, these men, as heads of family, and now you're causing division between the chiefs and these different heads. Now it's like, oh, well, this is my farmland. This is my land. This ain't the tribe's land. This is my land. I'm the head of this family. Okay? And we even see that whole head of family concept being brought down now, and they're including the women in it as well. And now we got fights not only with different tribes. Well, that back then it was a division amongst our tribes, and now they're causing division. Talking about present day 2023, they're causing division amongst our families. Talking about, oh, who's the head of household? And I'm sure if you live in the hood like I do, you have people come up to you, especially if you have those energy bill. I call them scammers, but that's my personal thing. But they have those third party energy company representatives come knock on your door. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, can I speak to the head of household, please? Can I speak to the head of the family? I would like to speak about your energy bill, how you can get a discount on it, how we can basically get some of the money that you paying monthly on your bill to reduce the number on your bill. And everybody knows when you sign up for that crap, your bill goes sky high anyway. But anyway, I don't want to digress, but it all ties into that division. You know what I'm saying? It's a division right there. That alienation. Okay? You're giving false power to these individuals, but really the real power is going to the government, because now you're able to single these people out. And these people have no idea, no conception. A lot of us had no idea, no conception of land ownership, because we were tribal. We did everything together. And now you're dividing us, and you're literally picking off parcel by parcel, taking it from us until you've taken the whole lot. You hear me? Because it says right here in 1859, when this scheme, you hear me? Look at that. Let me zoom it in for you. Can I zoom it in? 1859, when this scheme, they know it for what it is. Call it for what it is, Mr. Morgan. When this scheme was being worked out, I visited Kansas and found the Shawnees cultivating and improving their farms. So even though they was all divided, they were still cultivating, they were still doing that thing. It says some of which embraced 1,000 acres. So that was a good, generous piece of land that they still had, and owning them too, like other farmers. But look at this. When next in Kansas, 10 years later, the work was done. And what does he mean by the work was done? There was not a Shawnee in Kansas, but American farmers were in possession of all these lands. So-called American farmers were in possession of all these lands. So they were able to basically buy them out, root them out. And those that they weren't able to buy out and root out, what they do? They reclassified them. So there was no longer any Shawnees in Kansas, just American farmers. You hear me? I'm sorry, y'all. I don't want to get too passionate. I'm just, ah, it pisses me off. And it should piss you off too, rightfully so. Because with all this being done, you can see why it's so hard to find our ancestral land. Why our ancestors' lands are so tied up in limbo and probate and all these different things that we got to go through in order to rightfully claim our people's land back. It's frustrating if you're actually one that's doing the work. I'm in the process of doing the work myself. Got thousands of acres in the state of Texas, belong to my people. Okay? My people are Chata Indians. Thousands of acres. And it's just frustrating. The work that has to be done. And the thing is, a lot of these title companies and stuff, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to mess with it because a lot of this land is tied up. Not by the county, not by the state, like federally tied up. Like you got to talk to people that you never thought you had to talk to. Talking about these different government agencies and departments, federal departments. I've done it. I've been on the phone with these people, you know? And, like I said, the work is still being done. And those who know what I'm talking about, y'all know, you know? But I don't want to speak on that too much because, like I said, the process is still ongoing. I'm still learning things as I go forward. And if anybody has information and stuff that they want to share or want to chime in the comments, by all means, go ahead. I mean, this is a safe space, as safe as I can make it. Here on True Story. But if you are with me and you're new to the channel, I'll take this time out right now to say thank you for watching so far. Yakoki, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel and share this information, okay? But we're not done yet. We're going to keep going forward. All right, I'm good. Y'all good? I'm good. Let's go. It was this individual ownership with power to sell that had done the work. In managing the affairs of our Indian tribes, we must apply a little common sense to their condition. This is the writer speaking. In their brains, they are in the same stage of growth and development with our remote forefathers when they learned to domesticate animals and came to rely upon a meat and milk subsistence. The next condition of advancement at which the Indian would naturally reach is the pastoral, the raising of flocks and herds of domestic animals. The Indian taught himself to raise the horse and herds. We were riding horses. We got our cattlemen, our ebony cattlemen, as I like to call them, our Indian cattlemen today, with those Bill Pickett rodeos. Check out the Bill Pickett rodeo circuit. Check these the so-called black cowboys and rodeos. We still are master herdsmen. So we taught ourselves that. So don't let nobody say, oh, that's a European thing or that's a white person thing, riding horses and trying to learn how to be a cowboy. That was our shit. All right? And forgive me, I try not to cuss too much on here, but this is real. I'm getting real passionate about it. This is our stuff. We taught ourselves. You see it right here in black and white. The Indian has taught himself to raise the horse and herds, and some of the tribes raised sheep and goats. We were shepherds. All right? Y'all know what it is. A few of them raised cattle. Shout out to the ebony cattlemen. If the government could assist them in this until they were started, they would soon become expert herdsmen, assisting them, not teaching them, but assisting them. What does the USDA and everybody else do right now? Oh, if you buy this piece of land, or if you take out this loan, we'll make sure that you get everything that you need, but you're going to have to pay us back for the rest of your life. Okay? Let me stop. If the government could assist them in this until they were started, they would soon become expert herdsmen and would make a proper use of the unoccupied prairie land or prairie area in the interior of the continent as well as of the reservations, and would become prosperous and abundant in their resources. So the government, they knew that was the government's plan. The Indian land was the government's plan this whole time. That's why they came out here. It was their divine destiny. Doctrine of discovery. If you don't know what that is, look that up. Say it again. Doctrine of discovery. The Indians' land was the government's plan. And we're going to stop it right here and pause for the cause and wrap this up. Like I said, we're back. And like I said, the Indians' land was the government's plan the whole time. We went from having tribal land, young men that would marry their women, were given possession of a land. Land is still under the care of the tribe overall. Everybody was still, I'm sorry, y'all. This is really passionate. I'm sorry. It's a lot of passion behind this. But like I said, the Indians' land was the government's plan. These young men would marry. All they wanted to do was start a family. And that's what they got. They became a family man. They got their possession of land. The tribe helped them clear it out. Everybody received the resources. And you basically started from ground zero. You had your wife, raised some kids. You cultivated that land and you kept it fruitful. You sustained it. And then you go ahead and you pass that on to your kids, pass that on to, their kids, and so on and so forth. You basically starting had your own clan, you see? But then when the government came in, first it started with, you can't buy it, you can't sell it, or you can rent it. But then that wasn't enough. We're renting. We still got to answer to these tribes. We still got to answer to the Indians. Now they want to subdivide. Now you a head of household. So I said, y'all wear that title. So, a lot of us, I'm not going to say y'all, but a lot of our people, they take so much pride into that title. I'm the head of household. This is my house. I'm the head of household. Do you understand that that title was given to you in order to alienate you from your tribe so that they can exploit your land and take that tribal land away from you? So you went from a possessor, a cultivator, a master cultivator, to a farmer, to somebody who now have to answer to the government, somebody who was tricked out of their land, somebody who was being primed, not even tricked out yet, but was being conditioned and groomed to be tricked out of their land. You went from literally having this freedom of all this acreage to being subdivided into a parcel of land. And yeah, granted, those parcels were huge, thousands of, up to 1,000 acres for some people, thousands of acres. Yet and still, not looking at the big picture, they even saw that and thought that that was too much and found a way later on to take that away from us. But do you understand what was being done here? And if you don't, after reading this, and like I said, I showed my sources. You can go and look at it for yourself. After witnessing this, though, after seeing this, you should know by now that it was their plan the whole time to divide us, to cause division, and to eventually remove us from our land. And those who stood their ground and would not move, they literally stripped their identity away from them. So you're no longer an Indian. Now you're just a Negro farmer. You went from a steward of the land to a mere ward of the land. But people, like I said, land ownership. Land ownership is the key. And I don't mean taking out loans and paying the government to stay on open space land. I'm talking about buying out land outright, purchasing and owning the deed. Owning this land. Land ownership is the key. Now that we're knees deep in their game, I wouldn't even say knees deep, now that we're neck deep in the game, some of our people have even suffocated and drowned in it. You look at our poverty rates, our homeless rates, all these stats that's out. All of our people that's on Section 8, all of our people that's literally doing the best they can to get by paying these high-ass mortgages with these different interest rates. It's like they're doing their damnness to keep us from getting ahead. We're literally, some of us knee deep, some of us waist deep, some of us neck deep, and some of us are just completely over. We underwater. You know what I mean? Fighting to stay afloat. Now we can come together as a collective. We can have that tribal energy and get our land back. That is very much a possibility. But pride's got to be put aside. This whole head of household, this my shit, tribes didn't believe in that back then. But now that the individualism has crept in and alienated us from that way of life, if you have to take individual ownership, it starts with individual ownership, because now we don't even have that. We can't even say that as a whole. It starts with individual ownership. And now, when we come together, when we start buying and we start owning, still not being too prideful to help our people, to work with our people, provide a place for our people. Because if you haven't heard anything else from these installments, from the housing and family structure of our American Aborigines, you should understand that we always took care of one another. Nobody was homeless. Nobody was wanting for food. Nobody was homeless. Nobody was hungry. We always took care of each other, no matter what. It wasn't until the alienation of our people, when we started dividing, when division crept in, that's when things started going down south. And they literally gave you the blueprint as to how they did it right there in black and white. I just showed y'all that. So, like I said, land ownership is the key. And we gotta move forward. We gotta get better. We gotta get right. So let's do that. All right, y'all. I hear my kids coming in, so I'm gonna end it on this note. Are you with me? I appreciate y'all. Tatakista. Thank y'all for riding with me for this long. And like I said, 100 strong, man. 100 strong. I really appreciate you guys. I couldn't have done it without y'all. And if you're new to the channel, like I said, like this video. And even if you're not new, you're seeing this, and rock with me this far. Like this video, share this video, comment, leave your thoughts. I appreciate all y'all supporting kind words, keeping it positive. I really appreciate that. We need more positivity. And share. Share this out to your different social media. Share this out to your community. Share this out to your family, to your friends. Let them know what happened to our people. Okay? All right, this is Chief Steve signing off. Till next time. Oh, and by the way, before I go, I will make sure to do another word of encouragement, because this was pretty heavy. I had to get this out there, but now that it's out there, it's done. Yeah, we're going to definitely get a word of encouragement out there for this. That's definitely due. All right. Like I said, 100 strong. Let's keep on building. Let's keep growing. Chief Steve signing off. Tatakista. Yokoki.